I love the beginning of the show. That's a time where I finally, I wait all week to get a chance to listen to Blake sipping water out of his thermos, and I get that opportunity at 3 p.m. Eastern. Love it. Is it a metal jug? Is it a Stanley? Which one is that? What do you?
It is not a Stanley, but it is just a Costco double insulated thermos. Yes. Well, I'm a big fan of Stanley. You know, they have a crypto coin. They have some of the best memes on crypto Twitter, if you ever follow that.
No, I'm unaware, but please use your account on X. Blake is at TV's Blake Wally. Send something and tag us at American_media_. That's how you find the New American Media. Subscribe to that. I'd love to see some of these memes. I know the crypto counterculture is pretty chaotic and fantastic, and I'm here
for coins are all the rave these days.
Yeah, so I need to level up on my knowledge base of some of that. So please feel free to share some of that with me over there. And also you can check out Blake Wally's archive at thenextlevelnews.com. Of course, we are the New American Media because the old American media failed you. We're giving you this episode of the Agree to Disagree show because the old American media has failed. And it is Thursday, April 25, 2024. Let's buzz through what some of these topics are going to be on today's show. We're going to kind of keep it moving real fast today. Chug along, one of the faster shows we've done. Okay, we're going to update you on Harvey Weinstein. Yes, there is an update. We're going to talk about Bibi. Yes, that guy in Israel. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about protesting Israel. We're going to talk about Gaza. We're going to talk about the Palestinian protesters. We're going to talk about the TikTok ban. What's it really about? We're going to talk about Occupy. How does that relate? We'll explain. Also, what should April 20th be remembered for? Maybe there's a couple of things that fall on that date. It's a strange day. We'll unpack it for you. Also, voters, should they be required to show proof of residency? Or, just take everybody's word for it. I mean, what's the harm there? Also, should somebody in particular, someone specific, be banned from one of the two major political parties? What did they do? Did they deserve a permanent ban? We'll discuss. Also, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, they're on the verge. It appears, listening to the debates and bits and pieces of the audio are being leaked out, are they on the verge of leaning toward helping or harming Trump? We will discuss. And also, Tennessee teachers, do they make the right decision now that they are going to be armed to protect the kids? So all of these topics and more will be discussed on today's episode. If you like what we're doing here, go to patreon.com/the New American Media. And you can buy us a cup of coffee or a bunch of cups of coffee so that we can add to what we're doing at the network. It's been a busy month or 5, and there's a lot of expenses that have piled up. I won't bore you with it, but we are crowdfunded, and I'm not selling you anything that's tangy tangerine flavored yet. So if you like us, support us directly. You're not going to get a cool mug. You're not going to sip liberal tears. It's not going to be on a thing, but, Patreon for now. So we appreciate you, and find the Agree to Disagree show in the New American Media in all of the platforms, in all of the places. Blake, one thing that I do intend to do is get a link tree. It's sort of like what you did with that graphic, putting up, here's how you follow the New American Media on YouTube, on X, on Signal. I need to get a link tree graphic that maybe I could just show and then I could talk over top of, or put a video together and just embed the video somewhere that lives instead of repeating it all the time. But I digress. We'll get to that later. If you like the New American Media, find us and follow us. All right, let's jump into today's program. All right. Thank you, everybody who's watching. It sure seems like some days our show is distributed to a bunch of people, and then some days it's held back. It's a little tough to define, a little tough to characterize and guess which day is going to be which. But first couple minutes of today's show looks banging. So please leave your comments. Blake and I do try to add the best, most interesting, hilarious, and insightful comments into our chat. So please type away on whatever platform you're in. so that we can add you to the program. I want to jump into this story about the Supreme Court of the United States. Of course, the presidential immunity situation is on full display right now. It's a strange situation where, I mean, President Trump he's stuck in New York, so he can't be in front of SCOTUS, which would exonerate him. And it's very convoluted. It's very strange. One accusation really feels as goofy as the last, but I do just want to give you a quick update and buzz through a couple of things that are happening here. Little glitch putting this up on the screen, but okay, you are on the X feed. I'm going to scroll down to a couple with the Supreme Court, and just give you a couple of synopses that are coming in right now. So, where are we at? Gavin Newsom, United States of Ukraine. Yes, that's a good episode. Blake complaining about the paywall behind the mock draft. Of course. Yeah, today's the NFL draft, Blake. You guys going to move up and take a quarterback in the top of the first round?
There's certainly a lot of speculation. It is very possible. So Vikings have 2 first-round picks. They might move up, and certainly, yes, it's providing a lot of people's opinions and commentary on all the sports channels.
Oh, yeah.
Will they or won't they, or will they stay put, or how much will they give up to go up there? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there's like 6 or 7 first-round worthy quarterbacks. That's a lot of first-round worthy quarterbacks. Some drafts, there's 0. And you never know. Yeah. It's all hindsight. You got to out for workers, and unstable programs can ruin a great quarterback. So I mean, it's not a sure thing. But we will be watching. Of course, the Browns traded away our 3 first-round draft picks to get Deshaun Watson, who was in Saudi Arabia. The guy who's accused of having really bad attitudes and behavior toward women. He's in Saudi Arabia. The jokes write themselves. But anyway, I digress. We'll keep an eye on the draft this evening. But let's get to this here. Laura Loomer posted this. During oral arguments in the Supreme Court of the United States hearing on presidential immunity this morning, Joe Biden's DEI SCOTUS pick, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, argued that President Trump was not acting in an official capacity on January 6th during his election integrity efforts. Yeah, I mean, just remember, time has a weird way of distorting things. It's not like President Trump threw a rally and then attacked the Biden White House. Trump was president. Like, that was Trump's presidency. And he had every right and duty and obligation under his, jurisdiction, his rules, his purview to make sure that there was a fair and clean and fair election. And to this day right now, I think far fewer people believe it was free and fair than on 2020. But yeah, so Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying that Trump was not acting in an official capacity on January 6th during his election integrity efforts. Democrats are making the argument that Trump's efforts to investigate 2020 and to protect America's election is not an official act. Blake, does that sound deranged to you? Doesn't the U.S. president have an obligation to secure America's elections from foreign and domestic adversaries?
Yeah, it seems like common sense to me. But no, this is a whole Machiavellian process now, and the elections are very high stakes, and there's a lot of money to be made and thrown around, and a lot of people crave the power. And yes, it's up for dispute constantly, and some people will, win the election no matter what. It's just ends justify the means, and it's a very divided country now. It should be like, everybody agrees on most things, and then just, maybe a few issues that we don't agree on, but at least we can, have the option to vote whoever we want. And it used to be a fairly clean process, but now these things are getting much different now in these days. And there's not as much oversight, and there's not as many rules in place. We've kind of lost the integrity, and we've had these mail-in ballots, and they've kind of loosened the standards of how these votes take place. And one of the topics we're going to be talking about is whether people should be have a proof of residency, or whether they should have a signature or an ID. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that can swing the elections. And so we have to pay attention to that. And there certainly were some strange issues with the last election in 2020. They said it was the most secure ever, but we had never had the mail-in voting. We had never had, several swing states, stop counting in the middle of the night. It would just, vote old voter rolls or not looking at signatures, what have you, dropping ballot box drop-offs. There was a lot of strange things that we saw.
And by the way, under threat, under duress, we're obligated to tell you that you must go to cisa.gov/rumor control, because CISA wants you to have countervailing views, and they want you to hear free and fair, most secure election ever. But somehow we had the most mail-in ballots, and not all of the signatures were verified, and not all of the chain of custody was matched. And after hours, after the vote's done, more votes are being found, according to allegations. And no, there's no specific evidence that this has occurred. No court has found anything that is proven that what happened in 2020 was anything on the up and up, but nobody's looked. There's never been a trial. So it's hard to prove something did or did not happen when you don't have the chance to have a legitimate trial about it. So it's a very strange set of circumstances. But yes, go to cisa.gov/rumor control under threat of duress. Doesn't matter. They keep deleting our content. YouTube especially. I saw Luke Radowski just posted, and we shared it at American_media_. He said 10 years ago he did a show on YouTube about how there would be a pandemic and they'd force a V word and you had to get that or whatever. And so today they took down his video from 10 years ago saying that what happened 3 years ago didn't happen. And you're like, what in the hell is happening? This is the craziest shit ever. But that's just to tell you, Google, YouTube are not your friend. Meta, Instagram, Facebook are not your friend. Get on Telegram, get on Signal, get on Rumble, get on Odyssey, get on Truth Social, get on X. Get off of those deep state, the lying propaganda sites that censor truth seekers and speakers, and who promote known liars like the 51 intelligence officials who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop having all the classic earmarks of Russian propaganda and disinformation. Those bastards. Okay, let's continue here with SCOTUS.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, is it 12 years ago was him on an interview with David Icke, and so you got the YouTube. They're burning history. They're burning books.
Yeah, they're the book burners.
And by the way, it's for the COVID stuff, but I mean, this was 12 years ago, way before that. And this has been said by Icke or Rudowski, many people, Alex Jones, that this was part of the playbook, or Jesse Ventura on those old shows, conspiracy theories, that they were going to use some sort of a pandemic to clamp down on individual freedom here in this country. And now that they've predicted it, now they want to wipe it out. So this is Orwellian. This is absolutely straight out of 1984.
And this is why having physical books have never been more important, to get some things in your personal library that have the utmost importance. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to find stories, and the top 20 and 30 stories are fake stories because they're front loading it. They're lying through the results. And they say that when people are trying to gather information, like if they go on Google to run a quick search on something that's trending to find out what's going on, they're going to put the deep state lies and propaganda that push their terrible globalist message instead of reality. And that's insane. They said that 20-30% of votes can be swayed by what you show them and what you refuse to show them. The fine people hoax, the drinking bleach hoax. These idiots are still repeating this shit. They're not censored for medical misinformation and disinformation, but they keep pushing these lies. So yeah, you kind of have to be discerning, and you have to stick with people who have a good batting average. If you got a shit batting average, well, that's somebody you should probably plan on not being able to trust. And if that's the case, I sure think it's time to kind of move along and become more savvy consumers when it comes to the information that you're gathering. All right, let me continue here as we chug through the Supreme Court updates. This one is from Colin Rugg. I feel like Colin tweets once every 5 minutes. See him everywhere. So it says, just in, Department of Justice lawyer Michael Dreeben says it's perfectly fine for Obama to drone strike innocent civilians while arguing in favor of prosecuting Trump for election interference. Yeah, you heard that right. You did hear that right. Remarkable. The comment came after Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh cornered Dreeben by asking him about presidential immunity and why Obama was never prosecuted. Dreeben said the drone strikes were totally fine because the Office of Legal Counsel looked at this very carefully. Does that make sense to you, Blake?
Well, it's just bizarre. They're coming up with all these weird, like, hypothetical arguments in the way of, going after Trump, I guess, for having some of these classified documents that he was allowed to have. And now they're trying to, it's weird. Sotomayor, Jackson, Kagan, and now they're doing this weird stuff with, Trump's immunity claim. And the liberal justices are all floating these absurd hypotheticals. Order assassinations, kill a rival. And so then Kavanaugh kind of called it out about Obama and the drone strikes. Can you go after him? Was he, complicit in wrongful deaths? And so, it's weird watching them do these mental gymnastics to try to make it sound like, Trump's the bad guy. And I don't know, and just kind of setting this precedent. So it's very strange to see this. But yeah, as you said, I don't know if they're going to exonerate Trump or whatnot. It should be. He has right to have these classified documents. We don't know exactly what it was, but they were making efforts to to send them back to the archives, or what have you. And then they raided his home. But then it turned out that Joe Biden had classified documents, in old cardboard boxes in his garage, when he was not president, and he did not have authority to declassify things, or when he was a senator. It was scattered around his house, scattered in multiple places, and it was ridiculous. And so they can't make these arguments, but they're trying to anyway.
I mean, I'll tell you what. How about Hillary Clinton? How about the stuff in the sock drawer of Clinton? Man, how about someone starts flipping over wakeboards and seeing what Obama has hidden? I mean, the person who actually had the authority and ability to have documents was President Trump. Colin Rudd continued here. He goes, "It's okay when Obama does it because we cleared him of it." Totally reasonable. It's these arguments that they're making are just absurd. It reminds me of this Simpsons episode, and I'll show it to you in 1 second. But let me just wrap this up. I'm going to give you this one more thing here. Justice Alito just blew up the entire argument by the Department of Justice. Alito goes, if the president gets advice from the attorney general that something is lawful, is that an absolute defense? Dreeben says, yes. Alito, wouldn't the president just pick an attorney general who will let him do whatever he wants? Dreeben looks stunned. Apparently, the attorney general can provide absolute immunity, but the president, who is his boss, can't. Does that make any sense, Blake?
No, not really. This is strange, and it's weird. So now you got a lot of these leftists calling for stacking the court, and they're bringing up these bizarre things about the hypotheticals of ordering assassinations or killing rivals or ordering a coup. It's very strange to see this happen.
Yeah, the hypotheticals have gone they've gone into Crazyville, and it reminds me of this episode of The Simpsons where it is the Springfield mayoral debate. So just to set this up for you, the moderator is Birchibald T. Barlow. It's a Rush Limbaugh type character. Sideshow Bob is running for mayor. Sideshow Bob voiced by Kelsey Grammer, who I had the chance to meet, and I thanked him for doing the Sideshow Bob voices. That was a highlight for me. And also Mayor Quimby. Mayor Quimby is essentially a JFK ripoff. So these are the characters. Let me play this little clip for you. While we're talking hypotheticals, here's the Rush Limbaugh character peppering the sick and beleaguered. This is essentially like the Nixon Kennedy debates. Nixon, he was sick. He came off well on radio, but he came off really poorly on TV. He didn't look well, and so this is what they're mocking here. But here's the hypotheticals in action. Here we go. Quimby stumbling on stage, sick. And in this episode, he had taken a bunch of cough syrup as well, and so he's a little groggy on top of it. Here's the Rush Limbaugh character asking a question regarding hypothetical.
Sideshow Bob, Councilman Les Winan says that you're not experienced enough to be mayor. Sir, what do you have to say about that?
By the way, that's a hilarious joke.
I'd say that Les Winan ought to do and less whining.
That's a beautiful line right
Mayor
there.
Quimby, you're
Pretty classic. However, afterward, Lisa goes, "There's nobody named Les Winan." I know, but it's a good line. But then here's how he turns his ire on the JFK guy. Here you go. A totally different question. He gives him a softball with a joke punchline attached. Now here's the Quimby question.
Mayor Quimby, you're well known, sir, for your lenient stance on crime. But suppose for a second that you
And by the way, that's a pretty good interpretation of the Democrat Party today and always. Soft on crime, cities are falling apart.
stance on crime. But suppose for a second that your house was ransacked by thugs, your family tied up in the basement with socks in their mouths. You try to open the door, but there's too much blood on the knob.
Doesn't this remind you of all of these hypotheticals that they're giving you at the Supreme Court?
Basement with socks in their mouths.
That's
You try to
gross,
open the door, but there's too much blood on the knob.
What is your question?
My question's about the budget, sir.
Oh.
My question's about the budget, but he's got to run through these hyperbolic, insane hypotheticals before they can even get to what's going on there. It really is a strange time, but I mean, it does seem like, Blake, that the justices are leaning toward granting presidential immunity. Otherwise, there couldn't be a president. If you were not allowed to act in your official capacity as president, then nobody could be president. Everybody would be thrown in jail, right? I mean, would that be your guess from watching this? If you had to guess, you got $100 free. You got to pick. He's going to be granted presidential immunity, or it's going to be denied. What would your guess be? I'm hearing it might be 5-4, or it could be unanimous. I mean, we're all just guessing when it comes to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, no, I mean, they should. I mean, this isn't a major issue. And if it is, then they should show us why. I mean, it's bad enough that, Obama ordered the drone strikes, but, what do I know exactly about that, or that he acted on his own to do that? Did he commit a crime? Is it a war crime? Does he deserve to be tried? Or was this, who knows? And he's acting, with his advisors and his military strategists and what have you. So I wouldn't go after Obama for that, even though these were awful tragedies. But, if they did something, if they did in hypothetically order a coup or something, or try to, override the Constitution or suspend it for his own purposes, maybe that would be something to go after him for. But with this classified doc case, I don't see any. I don't know. I don't know what the classified docs were all about. We could speculate on that, but they got him back.
Well, these are all kind of blurring together because there's having classified documents. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. There's also I think they're specifically in this case also talking about trying to push to make sure that the election is on the up and up. So like in his official capacity, is he trying to make sure that we have a fair election, or is he trying to call out a rigged election or a fit? Like that is in his official capacity. By the way, hello to Jocelyn. Doesn't have much time today, but she wanted to pop in for a while. Thank you so much. It's her birthday, and she's got people coming over. So, Blake, let's sing to her. Happy birthday to you.
Not singing. I was just going to say, happy birthday, Jocelyn. Thank you.
Happy
Great
birthday to you. There we go. There's our disjointed happy birthday.
Brian. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Jocelyn. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You have a Supreme Court story pulled up here. Is this another one that's related to this? Did you want to grab this?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. I kind of already ripped off the headline already.
Okay.
Supreme Court hears the oral arguments on Trump immunity claim, and the liberal justices are floating absurd hypotheticals, ordering assassinations or killing a rival, orders coup, but that's not what happened. So,
well, Benny Johnson is trying to run an assassination on Trump. That's what Benny Johnson is saying, to remove Secret Service from president. Like
right.
He's pushing. There's no reason you do that unless you're trying to have a president assassinated. Benny Johnson, as we covered on the Tuesday show, was promoting the idea to remove protection from President Trump so that he could be eliminated. That's the one who's calling for assassination. But yeah, all these hypotheticals are weird. Jocelyn said, here's the thing about SCOTUS. If they give Trump presidential immunity, he wins. If they don't, that opens up possible prosecution for Biden, Obama, Bush, and Trump wins. Bottom line, Trump wins. Yeah, I like that analysis too, because there's no wrong way to do this. Obama has got so much karma coming to him. Obama is so guilty on so many fronts of so many civil rights violating atrocities with the phony FISA warrants, the Five Eyes, the spying on Trump in his campaign, what happened in 2020. Obama could spend the rest of his life in prison that's if he doesn't face the ultimate penalty for treason. There's no doubt in many corners of the globe that Obama is an infiltrator who used the name renegade specifically because it's a usurper. It's somebody who doesn't like the government and gets inside so that they can destroy it. He literally picked his own Secret Service name on his own to self-identify what he is. That's a story I've heard. That's my understanding. I could be wrong on that. But yes, Trump wins either way, perhaps. All right, so we'll just keep an eye on SCOTUS at this point. I mean, they'll rule when they're going to rule. Do you want to highlight us on this? The 3 most shocking discoveries in the Trump case?
Yeah, it's some unusual things that have popped up in this case as well with, special counsel Jack Smith and other federal prosecutors allegedly, about Trump allegedly mishandling classified documents. And they're showing that one of the Department of Justice threatened one of the Trump lawyers or one of the defendants in this trial, threatened the lawyer with his judicial nomination. So that was interesting to note. Sabotage,
kind of like how Burisma, how like Ukraine, if their investigator continued looking into Biden and the overthrow of Ukraine in 2014 and their money laundering allegations in Burisma Holdings, if they didn't stop the investigation into the Biden crime family, that they were going to pull, what was it, $1 million, a bunch of money, and he's on tape laughing about it, bragging about it, quid pro quo. How much was it?
$1 billion.
Oh, with a B. How can we keep track anymore? I'm already thinking in the quadrillions, Blake. I'm ready for the hyperinflation Zimbabwe $1 trillion bill. What can I say? But yeah, this is nuts, dude.
Yeah, it's nuts. So there's threats going on behind the scenes from the Department of Justice towards other lawyers from the Trump side. And then there's White House allegedly involved from the start, White House Office of Records, Presidential Records Act. So that's another thing going on. And then Trump's security clearance allegedly retroactively revoked. Biden's Department of Energy revoking Trump's security clearance after Smith indicted Trump in June 2023. So yeah, there's some shenanigans going on behind the scenes. As also of note, I thought was interesting. There was a essay out from the New York Times saying, I thought the Bragg case against Trump was a legal embarrassment. Now I think it's a historical mistake. Just that they're trying to make this sound like it's some big criminal scheme to corrupt the 2016 presidential election, which we did talk about. But it's just a misdemeanor, falsifying business records and making a mountain out of a molehill. So it's an embarrassment of prosecutorial ethics and apparent selective prosecution. So nevertheless, each side should have its day in court. So yeah, it's a big shit show again.
And the people who have engaged in this under the direction and guidance has been alleged from the Biden White House, the Obama handlers that are running the show right now. The people behind this have to be held accountable, and these people have to face justice themselves. This simply cannot stand. You can't let Jussie Smollett do what he did without prosecuting him. You cannot let Bragg and Letitia James and Fannie Willis and all these other co-conspirators to overthrow a president and to overthrow, to rig a presidential election. Yeah, Congress needs to take up this criminal conspiracy. You want RICO case, as Jocelyn says there? You want RICO? Well, you got him. RICO's right here. It ain't Rico Suave. It's Rico Biden. I don't know. So I hope
Mike Johnson was on our side. Yeah.
Oh, Mike Johnson. We'll get well here. Let's jump to that one if we will. April 20th. Blake, agree or disagree that April 20th should be remembered for Congressional treachery? There's a good segue. That was nicely done. Pat on the
Okay. All right. Well, let's agree with that. Brian, you sent this to me. Let's see if I can pull this.
Yeah, I did. I don't know how I sent it to you, if it was X or if it was Instagram, but follow us in all those places. Follow Blake on X at TV's Blake Wally. I'm seeing you in my feed more often now. Blake, you're in the feed. Our tagging each other has finally worked. Now I'm seeing your stuff, and I'm sharing more of your stuff and liking more of your stuff. It's awesome. I'm learning social media.
Okay. I thought you made a list. I was so proud, but no, it just finally showed up in the algorithms.
Yeah,
I get weird things that happen with
organically.
It's weird. There's still some shady stuff happening on Twitter, but okay, well, that's at least a positive. So
yeah. And look, we've been doing a bunch of shows, north of 50 live viewers. Yes, some of the numbers have, we're wanting to see much more growth. We want to be parabolic in our growth. If you like the show, share it with your friends, please. But yeah, it comes down to leaving comments, hitting subscribe, liking the content, engaging with it with the algorithms. And, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take for this to finally kick off the way that we're hoping it will. But look, there's several positive things we've seen happening. Blake getting more reach on X. Like I said, north of 50 live viewers is kind of standard. It's been happening quasi regularly or close to it lately. And we just want to double that and then double that again. So yeah, Blake, let's never take the black pill until we're cold and in the ground. We're never going to take the black pill. We got to keep fighting while we got some breath.
We've always got to adapt. So
yes. Unless you're Ron Paul and you've had the right policy positions for 4 decades, and there's no need to adapt because you're kind of spot on, right?
Yeah, well, he's been spot on for a number of years, and people just didn't really pay attention to him much until maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So yes, he's blasting Mike Johnson now in a stunning new monologue. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is reported to have bragged to his colleagues about how easily Speaker Johnson just gave Democrats everything they wanted and asked for nothing in return. But let's pull this up because this is kind of relevant on what happened with 420. And Ron Paul, not pleased. Here we go.
When future historians go searching for the final nail in the U.S. coffin, they may well settle on the date April 20th, 2024. On that day, Congress passed legislation to fund 2.5 wars, hand what's left of our privacy over to the CIA and the NSA, and give the U.S. President the power to shut down whatever part of the internet he disagrees with.
No good.
The U.S. and its allies have already sent over $300 billion to Ukraine, and the country is still losing its war with Russia. Nobody believes another $60 billion will pull a victory from the jaws of defeat. But this additional money is meant to keep up appearances until November at the expense of Americans who are forced to pay for it and Ukrainians who are forced to die for it. Speaker Johnson could not have passed these monstrosities without the full support of House Democrats, and as the majority of Republicans voted against more money for Ukraine. So in the worst example of bipartisanship, Johnson reached across the aisle, stiffed the Republican majority that elected him Speaker, and pushed through a massive gift to the warfare corporate welfare state. After the House voted to send another $60 billion to notoriously corrupt Ukraine, members waved Ukrainian flags on the House floor and chanted, "Ukraine, Ukraine." While I find it's distasteful and disgusting, in some ways it seemed fitting. Not to be outdone, the U.S. Senate on that same day passed the extension of Section 702 of the FISA Act, which not only allowed the government to continue spying on us without a warrant, but also contain new language, massively expanding how they can spy on us.
This is
Many
insane.
conservative voters are asking, what's the point of Republican control of the House is if the agenda is determined by Democrats?
Yep.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is reported to have bragged to his colleagues about how easily Speaker Johnson gave Democrats everything they wanted and asked for nothing in return.
Wow. Yeah.
It's
well said.
So sad. It should not be hard to get a warrant. If they need to have special courts that can fast track warrants, but you can actually prosecute people when they're lying, like Obama did, like they set up to frame Trump. It's not complicated. You want a lot of people to enter the country, then hire more bouncers, build the infrastructure, and process people quicker. If you want to get more warrants and spy on people and you want to investigate what's going on, then you should have limited time frames. You should have to present some sort of evidence, and a judge should have to sign off on this. This isn't constitutional. It's not remotely constitutional. There's a Fourth Amendment protection. It's not rocket science, Blake. It's straightforward, but we're just living in this cuckooville. We're living in an upside-down world. Dreamer says Ron Paul is becoming the mainstream view as he proves right more and more every day. Yeah. You know, some of the classics, you got to go revisit some classics. You know, people talk about things being conservative. Well, you know, if you stick to some basic guiding principles, you don't need to update that. Oh, we need a new operating system. No, we don't. Jocelyn says Speaker Johnson is compromised, and April 20th, 2024 was the real insurrection. So, yeah, Ron Paul nailing it again, Blake. This Speaker Johnson guy, it seems like he's being protected by the Democrats now. Do you have any hope that he's going to be removed as he should be, or do you think he's locked in there now? Because
I think he has to now. I think
Democrats want.
No, I think he has to go now. After that spectacle on 420, that can't be allowed to stand. Aggression cannot stand, man. So no, he just as Ron Paul said, he betrayed everybody in Congress, everybody that elected him speaker. And it's going slapping in the face again. You know, we put these representatives, they're, you know, our district, they vote on our behalf, but they weren't voting on our behalf because most Americans would not vote for another 60 billion. They said you've already put 300 billion now. I mean, it's not going to happen. Is no clear cut to way to see a victory for Ukraine over Russia. It's not going to happen. So we're just throwing it away. It's gone. We'll never get it back.
Yeah, but if they're President Trump put out a couple weeks ago, he said that this idea of giving foreign aid, hang on, I'll get to that in a second. Jocelyn says Ron Paul has always stayed true to his principles. I lost what he was saying there.
Well, you can see it on the side. Imagine how much better and more free this country would be if he were elected president. Yes, and I was a delegate in 2012 in Nevada, one of the 5 states we won. And I was there in Reno when the Mitt Romney campaign was trying to steal it.
And that was when we met Blake. Back in the day. Katie Cat says, wonder what they have on Johnson. Has to be pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, if you were going to design a character in like Sim City, who would knock on the door, where Chris Hansen is going to answer, come on into the kitchen, and it's Chris Hansen. I mean, Mike Johnson kind of looks like he's straight out of Central Casting. With that, I'm not saying I know anything about Mike Johnson, but my God. Talk about the art of the deal. The exact opposite is giving away everything that you have and getting nothing in return. Why could Speaker Johnson not read the book? Like, who is this guy in the first place? Jocelyn asks, do you suppose Johnson has been blackmailed, or has he been promised POTUS when Biden is taken out of the White House? Oh, yeah. I mean, my God. That's a great question. Who the heck
I don't think
knows?
he seems to crave the power, but I can see him getting threatened. I don't know about blackmailed even, because he's new there. He's not like a swamp creature that's been there forever, and he's in all the the drug parties and the orgies or whatever they got going on there that Madison Cawthorn was warning us about. But we've heard and knew, and to some degree, I don't want to say I don't care, but yeah, these people are compromised. And I'm not saying he was, at Epstein's Island, probably not, but maybe they show him video of his nieces and nephews, and what would the deep state do to them? They might have an accident if he doesn't vote a certain way, or maybe he does lust for power. I don't know if it's about for president or anything, but yeah, it's easy to get involved in that, and you'll get all the wrong people that'll be around you with a lot of money, and to make a lot of promises and make you famous for all the right reasons or wrong reasons. I don't know, but
I mean, he's number 3. He's third in command, right behind vice president and president. I mean,
does he seem like the kind of egomaniac that like craves the power? Not like what's his name, Haywood Jeffries, or I keep getting his name wrong. Son of Jeffries. Like you can see somebody like him, like really, liking the idea of becoming president. So you gotta be careful about people like that.
Yeah. Well, look, when you have. Look, it's the NFL draft tonight. Let's stay in sports analogies. If the Cleveland Browns had somebody come in and they kind of telegraphed and sent the playbook over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, in advance of the game, and it's like, here's everything you need to know. Here's our game plan and strategy. It's like, this guy's working for the other team. That's exactly what Johnson did. It's a huge red flag. Johnson adds, right on, Blake. Mike Johnson has done the exact opposite of every action he promised to take if elected speaker. He is either abysmally dishonest, taking bribes, or he's being blackmailed. Yeah, so we will see, and we will follow it. Hopefully, I'm completely in favor of getting rid of him for sure.
I cannot confirm this, but I do take Jocelyn seriously. Johnson went to Mar-a-Lago to visit Trump before the FISA vote, but his son was pulled from the ocean, nearly drowned. So yeah, it's the kind of thing the deep state will pull on you. I mean, this is high stakes stuff. And they have to win these elections. They have to control the people that are in power. They don't control Trump, so they hate him. Yeah.
That was Obama's chef drowned, in like 2 feet of water, right? 3 feet of water on a paddleboard at night, naked or something, right?
Yeah, like 8 feet of water in like a glorified pond over in Martha's Vineyard. When he was a swimmer, yeah.
Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law had a vehicle go into reverse. And then it backed up into a pond, and she drowned in the pond at her sister's, at Mitch McConnell's wife's house on their farm or something. I mean, they're directly, there's a lot of questionable situations linked to a lot of these people in power. And you just wonder, what in the heck is going on? And also, who's in charge to bust the people that have taken this country hostage? I wouldn't care who was running things if they were making wise decisions. None of these decisions are good. It's as if the bad people are in charge. So who are the white hats? Who are the good people? Katie says, why is this guy allowed to adopt a young boy without another parent figure? Sorry, but this guy is creepy as up. Wait, who? Johnson?
I'm not familiar with Johnson and his personal life, so I cannot confirm or deny. But yeah, I mean, you have to look at stuff like that, and these people will threaten your children, your wife and children. I've heard they'll make you phone calls and they'll be like, hey, we see your wife, she's out grocery shopping with your kids. They'll make those little idle threats at you just to get you to keep you in line. It's
insane.
Sick.
This is worse than the mob. It's worse than the mafia.
Oh yeah. Oh, way worse. Mob had some principles, at least. They didn't, screw with your wife and kids.
Jocelyn, thank you. She praising my excellent dot connecting. But yeah, I mean, we hear these stories all the time, and we watch the most ridiculous people push the most ridiculous BS, and none of it makes sense. And we go, well, what's really happening here? Something is not right. Something is rotten in Denmark, as they say. So anyway, speaking of something rotten, Blake, any other points on this before I bounce to the next story?
Nope.
All right, let's just move to this one without a stinger because we're moving fast today. Harvey Weinstein was innocent and he deserves to be set free. Blake, would you agree or disagree that Harvey Weinstein, not to be confused with Jeffrey Epstein, not to be confused with, anyway, that he's innocent and he deserves to be set free? What say you?
I don't know. This is a developing story, so I will refrain. I'm going to say I find it unlikely. He seems kind of a scumbag. I would tend to believe some of the women, but maybe some of these women or whatever that were assaulted knew what they were getting into and probably got big roles and promotions in Hollywood. It's gross, but sometimes that's how the star actor or actress gets the big role, is because they, had a little roll in the hay with the creepy director or producer or whoever. Things like this happen, unfortunately. So it doesn't always go to the most talented person. It goes to whoever was willing to compromise themselves. I'm not going to go into all the names, but whatever. That's what happens. And I don't know. He was overturned, his rape conviction, by a New York appellate court by a panel of female judges. So that's strange. I don't know all of it. So even at the bottom it says developing, but this is the only outlet I found that was covering this particular story, Brian. So I don't know what you know.
It's breaking. Yeah, it's breaking kind of just like you are. Maybe there's not a lot to say other than an update. And I saw Breitbart came out strong and said that it was a correct decision. I forget how they phrased it, but I think we put it on our Instagram story. So make sure you're following us at the New American Media on Instagram. But I think Breitbart agreed with the decision. So maybe the conviction was not based on actual evidence. I don't know.
Well, they just say to conclude the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior sexual acts against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes. And there was just a 4-3 decision. Remedy for these egregious errors is a new trial. So they'll say, finding the judge, the landmark Me Too trial prejudiced the ex-movie mogul with egregious improper rulings, including a decision to let women testify about allegations that weren't part of the case. So I don't know. I mean, everyone's entitled to their day. I mean, he's, I'm not saying he raped anybody or whatever. He's a creep no matter what. He's gross, and he deserved to be exposed for what he's done. But was he necessarily guilty? Does he deserve jail time? That I'm not sure. I will leave that up to the judge and the jury.
And by the way, a quick, a brief dig into this. I'm reading that Mike Johnson and his family never adopted this guy named Michael. The adoption process was too difficult and too expensive. Calling him their son was a lie. But then, despite no formal adoption process, Michael reportedly lived with the Johnsons, who would also have 4 biological children. And then they met when he was a teenager. This Michael T. James, now 40, when they were doing. Mike Johnson was doing charity work for a Christian ministry in Baton Rouge. So it's kind of murky. Did he take custody of a 14-year-old black teenager that he met through Young Life Ministry? Did he not? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there. So I'll dig in a little bit deeper. But same with Harvey Weinstein. I'll look into it a little bit more. It's all kind of breaking now, and we'll see. Is he going to get another trial? Just like the guy in Arizona, is he going to be faced with another trial? The rancher who was just released because of a mistrial? Are they just going to drop it, or are they going to refile? I don't know. I don't know if there was an update there, but a lot of these stories, we don't have the full facts. We're trying to unpack it together, and quite often your comments will lead us into different stories, and it will help us kind of clarify some of these. Jocelyn says, did he flip? What do jailbirds do when they are caught? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we could say this. It also could be a court trick to let off the elite criminals, which MJ Sedona also says.
A huge Democrat donor. Oh, sorry, Blake. Right. I thought so. Weinstein being a huge Democrat donor. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, but it's also just these elitist criminals that get off for whatever reason, whether they're, ratting on somebody else or making a deal, or if you're just seeing a lot of these other people that haven't gone down. We still don't know who's on the Epstein list. So who knows? Right. They could be protecting their own.
Jocelyn says it's no coincidence. Epstein, Maxwell, Weinstein, the Narangahita Mafia, John of God, Diddy, NXIVM, countless sex trafficking ops plus others when Trump came into office. Yeah, I mean, there is some gross shit happening on this planet, man. Like, I just don't get it. Why can't we just enjoy our lives, live a decent experience, and kind of live by that golden rule, if you will? I don't know. I don't know. It's just an addiction to power and control, I suppose. So we will keep an eye peeled on Weinstein. We'll try to get an update on the Arizona rancher. If you have an update on the Arizona rancher, are they going to retry him? To the comment section, if you have anything, post it there. Okay. Anything else on this story, sir?
Nope.
Okay. Something in your backyard. Agree or disagree that Tennessee made the right decision to arm their teachers, Blake? I don't know if you've been following this one, but let me just read one or two things and I'll toss the floor to you. This is from Shipwreck Show. Tennessee and Iowa have now signed into law allowing teachers to carry on campus, and Kamala is big mad about it. If the federal government would do its job, the states wouldn't have to take matters into their own hands, but here we are. You made your bed and now you can lay in it. There was another one that I had. I don't know, this Jordan Kepler and Comedy Central haven't been funny forever, so I'm not going to give them the time of the day. But there was one more, and now I can't find it. Blake, what say you? Do you think it's a good idea to arm teachers in Tennessee and Iowa and really across the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they want to, they should absolutely have a right to conceal carry in the classroom. I'd have no problem with that whatsoever. That would really deter any, potential future, mass murderers that want to go in. They'll think twice about that. It's not a gun-free zone, and they never know who's armed and where they could be attacked from. So that's the way to win on this issue. I like it.
I like it too. We'll move past it, but it's important to, it seems like we get on the show and we'll gripe about the losses that we take. There's L's and there's W's. But we got to stop and smell the roses. This is a big win. Tennessee's banning chemtrails being sprayed in their skies. Like, Tennessee's doing a lot of great stuff. If Nashville's not going to be the new capital of the world, I don't know what's going to be, but Tennessee's making a strong play. Moving aside from that, I just want to update you on this because this is a massive story as well. Dr. Anthony Fauci is now set to testify publicly for the first time since retiring from public service at a COVID select hearing on Monday, June 3, 2024. So Fauci's testimony will come in the wake of bombshell new emails from EcoHealth Alliance's Peter Daszak and Fauci aide that exposed the COVID gain-of-function cover-up. Daszak's email noted that the Wuhan lab was in possession of more than 15,000 samples of coronaviruses prior to the COVID pandemic. EcoHealth Alliance was a cut-out group for the Pentagon and National Institutes of Health, the NIH, to fund risky and illegal gain-of-function research at the Wuhan laboratory in China. Fauci's on the record discrediting the man-made theory of SARS-CoV-2 publicly while working behind the scenes to suppress scientific dissent that the theory was plausible. The NIAID chief eventually pushed scientists at Science magazine to call it a conspiracy theory while pushing the bat and wet market theory. The DOE and FBI published reports supporting the view that it's likely COVID was man-made, blah, 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 blah. But this is just like, Blake, it's just like the Five Eyes thing that Obama did. Hey, England, whatever countries it was. Hey, Australia, hey, England, there were 5 of them. We want you to spy on this person, this person, this person, this person. We think they're up to no good. And report back what you have. Then they report back, and then they go, oh, look at this brand new information that we've discovered. Now they're linked to Trump and the Republicans, so we're now going to spy on them because this information completely came to us organically. They're lying about it. They're offshoring it, just like they did rendition in Northern Africa for their torture programs. Then just trying to say, nope, my hands are clean. I didn't do it. It's the equivalent of the bully grabbing the little kid's arm, smacking himself in the forehead, saying, I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. Blake, any thoughts on this? Fauci finally getting up to have to answer to some of this stuff?
Good. I donated like $25 to Rand Paul, and because he was going to be doing this, he's going to be a part of this and going after Fauci. So yeah, no, it's good. He needs to be held to account. He was our nation's highest paid, most trusted, federale. I don't know what you want to call him, but yeah, he has to be held to account for all this lockdown and the masking and all the decisions that were made, and whether he was funding gain-of-function research or where, what happened with the Wuhan lab. There's a lot of things that the public deserves answers to, and I'm 100% on board with that.
Agreed. Katie Cat says a trained gun carrier should be able to carry. Yes. Good stuff. Okay. What about this, Blake? Agree or disagree that Chris Christie should be banned from the Republican Party? Here's a fun one.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, at least, temporarily. I'm not saying, permanently, but he made some pretty disturbing comments the other day. He's a very bitter and vindictive egomaniac. So he wished death on Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy. So yes, because they basically destroyed him. He is destroyed his presidential aspirations. But we should never let somebody like that, a thug like that, be president. So he doesn't deserve it, and now he's lashing out. So the failed presidential candidate spoke at an event at the University of Chicago. He said, "Well, let's just hear him in his own words. It's a very short clip."
I would have preferred any of those people over Trump. Ramaswamy and Trump, I would have hoped for a death match where they both die.
A literal death match.
Where they both die.
Wow, he just called for basically two of the top candidates dying. He would have supported any of the candidates that were in the RNC, or for any of the Republican nominees, except for Vivek and Trump, which he wants to kill each other in a death match. So, yeah, I appreciate him being candid. But, yes, the GOP should step in and say something. But they won't. But, yes, he should be banned, and then he should at least have to apologize and pull those statements out, and then they could reinstate him. I don't take him seriously anyway. Okay, but agree or disagree, Brian?
Yeah, something is wrong with that guy. I don't know what else to say. He was playing a role of the attack dog. During the debates, he was always the attack go after Trump guy, and by proxy, he was the go after Vivek guy. I just don't get his angle. I just don't understand his angle and what he's going for. Christie said Trump looks bad. Does he own a mirror? Exactly. I don't know where Christie's base is coming from. Katie Cat says Christie was her NJ New Jersey governor and such a criminal. He diverted Sandy funds to his buddies unaffected in Nutley, New Jersey. Yeah, and remember him walking hand in hand with Obama, strolling on the beach, kind of sealed the last chance in that election to bounce Barack Hussein Obama from that White House position, but instead he seemed to be playing for the other team. Obviously, when you're in the middle of a catastrophe, an eco disaster, okay, I understand that is a time to meet with the president, but the optics were just really bad, and his attitudes ever since have not really been, haven't changed all that much. Final quick one here, Blake. Agree or disagree that voters should be required to provide proof of to vote?
Yes, absolutely agree. It should be common sense, obvious, but that's not the way they want it. It says ends justify the means, and they got to take elections wherever they can. So this is Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, which I question her credibility and whether she should have been elected after being down 11 points and all the shenanigans going on in Maricopa County to try to take it from Kari Lake. But she's actually vetoed a bill to require proof of residency for voting, which would seem like common sense. You got to be, show where you live. You've got to be a resident of that state. But it sounds like they're, paving the way for the illegal aliens that are swarming the border to be, elected. They or to have voting rights. But they will only probably do it, as far as I know, on the federal level. So Hobbs,
why should they have any right to vote on anything federal? They're not a member. They're not a member. They don't have a say.
So in Arizona, voters are not required to show proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. So they have a federal only ballot.
All right, hold on. There is a patchwork grouping and an agreement between the 50 states in this country to run elections. If we don't run by the same rules, we don't have an election. We don't have a country. if they're not requiring proof to show that you're in the country and you have a right to vote, why should the Arizona ballot count in the federal election then? I don't understand this at all, Blake.
Why? Because cheaters want to win. They have to find any advantage they can. From their perspective, yeah, this makes perfect sense. This is ends justify the means.
If there are states like Pennsylvania that changed their voting systems and didn't have the legislature pass it, there's no reason that those votes should count. If that's tainted the whole state, the state has ruined their own votes. If there's a loss in the chain of custody, if there's no signature verification, all of these things would indicate that those poisoned batch of ballots, whether it's a small batch of 100 or statewide, they're poisoned and must be recalled. Katie Cat, it's ridiculous to have illegals vote. Yes, it's not a thing. So I'm telling you, I know that we're wasting our time with Trump on the Supreme Court, but my God, the Supreme Court has got to jump in and figure out these drop boxes, mail-in ballots, all of these things that open up the American voting system to the potential of fraud. We cannot continue as a country if we don't get this under control, Blake. So
I hear that, but what are you going to do when the governor vetoes it? So there you go.
If you're the police, who will police the police? I don't know, Coast Guard. Anyway, all right. Well, we will keep an eye on Arizona for the rancher if he's retried, and if Katie Hobbs can be exposed and prosecuted for her alleged crimes as well. Okay, let's jump into this one. This is the beginning of the 5-part, 6-part co-headline story here. Blake, agree or disagree that we must obey Bibi? That's a tough thing to say. We must obey Bibi because the world cannot stand idly by. What say you, Blake? Agree or disagree with Bibi?
I am going to disagree here. Yes. Actually, I'm going to just use the words from Gerald Celente. Americans don't take orders from foreign leaders. So, yes, after Bibi put out this controversial tweet saying anti-Semitism on campuses in the United States is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 30s, the world cannot stand idly by. But it seems like it's who's the president here? Seems like people are taking his advice. It's amazing. So let's get back to this.
Remember, that's exactly what Zelensky was doing too. Zelensky barking orders at the United States. Everybody barks at Biden because they can. Nobody barked shit at President Trump because President Trump wasn't having it. Iran started saber rattling. Trump stood up and said, "It'll be the biggest mistake you ever made. We will annihilate you." I'm not verbatim here, but I mean, Trump did not mince words and he did not take orders from anyone. But Biden's asleep at the switch, and it's a field day for the jackals.
Right. Okay, well, yeah, so this is Bibi marching, trying to take authority here and tell us what to do on our American college campuses. So he's saying anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities, calling for the annihilation of Israel. I don't know about that. He's stretching it a bit.
They are, and I agree with him, by the way, but yeah, continue.
What percentage do you think are actually doing that? Calling for the annihilation of Israel?
Yep. That's what from the river to the sea means.
But do they know that?
Yeah. They're 18 years old. They're old enough. They're adults. They're making their decisions.
Right. So if they're calling for the river to the sea, why can't that just be freedom for them? Why does that have to be, that means genocide of the Jews secretly? Wink, wink. No, it does not.
It's not secret. Their Scooby-Doo masks are off, Blake. It's very obvious. And the colleges have lost control. A competing question, Blake. Do you think Columbia should give its money back to the people who have paid tuition there now that they're going to online-only classes because they can't control their BLM mobs of pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, AstroTurf protesters?
Well, that could be part of it. Some of these could be AstroTurf from, Israel too. Who knows? But you got to look at, I think from what I'm seeing, the majority of the people seem to be peaceful, even though they're calling it, anti-Semitic. And there's, I haven't seen any real violence. Have you, Brian?
I've seen people being bullied and blocked and boxed in and prohibited from free egress No, I haven't seen punches and shots. I've seen a lot of bullying tactics that, I mean, if there's any adult on these campuses, they'd shut that shit down in a heartbeat, but they're not, because this is the deep state Democrat plan. These are the globalists, the Marxists. Israel's the little devil. The United States is the big devil. I mean, this is their plan. This is what they believe. At least they're saying it publicly now. I appreciate that.
Okay, well, we'll definitely agree to disagree that these people are calling for the actual genocide or annihilation of Israel just because they're saying from the river to the sea,
it's
people
not
deserve
just
to be
that they're
free.
saying that. There are videos that I've seen over the past month or so. Yeah, they're definitely death to Israel, kill the Jew. I've seen plenty of these videos just in scrolling. You've seen those too.
I don't know, Brian, but I can show you how about a Jared Canal? Let's pull up this because this is part of one of these topics here. This is Jared Canal is a Jewish student taking part in the Gaza encampment at Columbia, saying he felt 100% safe on campus. So, Brian, would you say that this guy is a plan?
I'm a Jewish student at Columbia. When we talk about anti-Semitism on campus, that's taking the spotlight away from Gaza, away from Palestine, and the Palestinian students on campus, and putting it back onto me. I am perfectly safe here, and this has all been a distraction because they don't want us talking about the non-stop massacre of Gaza, of Palestinian civilians being taken out by the IDF. I grew up being taught that Israel was an important part of my Jewish identity, and part of being a Jew was supporting Israel. I was raised Zionist, and then I met a Palestinian for the first time and heard their perspective, and was able to realize that I was on the wrong side of this, that I'd been taught the wrong side of this. To me, calling in the police was an act of desperation. They know where the students stand. They saw the students come together to support their suspended and arrested friends. We see that other universities are following in our footsteps, and we welcome them. We just want to make sure that they do it in solidarity with Gaza and with Palestine, and that the focus is not on us. But we hope that this can be an important step in the liberation of Palestine and an end to the occupation and an end to the genocide.
All right, Brian. So is that like AstroTurf? Could be. But
no idea. That is one guy.
I turn on Fox, which is like 100% the most, 100% supportive of Israel. They're going to talk about like it's violence. They got to protect everybody. It's the rise of anti-Semitism. It's racism. The whatever. And then you're watching Netanyahu saying they're calling for the annihilation of Israel, and they're attacking Jewish students. So
they're yelling all sorts of curses. They're blocking them.
Okay, they're yelling,
threatening
them. Threatening them. Okay, well, I don't know. I believe you. I'm sure there are some examples of that, but I would say that it's highly exaggerated. And I think, and it's interesting. This is what's weird about this one. So you're talking about, this is reminiscent of what happened in German universities. Meanwhile, check this one out. Here's the university in Gaza. So they got people saying, oh, they don't feel safe on campus. I wonder how people in Gaza feel safe on campus here. Here's a university over there. Oh, look at that. Blown to smithereens. Here's what Netanyahu's state has done to Gaza's universities, blowing them up. And he's saying this is reminiscent of German. So this guy has no authority to say anything. He should be backing out of this. And as somebody said in our chat, he should be stepping down. I think he should be dragged out of there, taken to the Hague, and tried for war crimes. But
because he's prosecuting a war after he was attacked. That's why?
It's a bit... Okay, so right. You don't think he's been heavy-handed with it? You think you agree with how he's handled things? So they were attacked, probably let their guard down for a long time, maybe allowed this to fester so that he could use it as an excuse to go after him.
Like I said, we've mentioned the same topic on previous shows, and I say that argument is just creepily reminiscent of she shouldn't have worn a seductive dress. She was asking to get raped. It's like, oh, they must have let their guard down so this could happen. It's like
they were warned by.
It's like, well, you didn't defend yourself well enough against getting abused and killed. Like, how you're a loser. What a bum. You must have premeditated your own attack. It's like, yeah, maybe. Also, I don't know. There is a clear
power because they were the people wanted to oust him. Right. They're sick of Bibi calling for him to basically surrender. And then all of a sudden, oh, we got attacked. And now he's got more power than ever.
Maybe it's all nefarious. Maybe it was just an attack by the people that always seem to start attacking people. I don't know. Well, doesn't seem.
I don't know, Brian. I've been calling this out for like 12 years as I think he's just an absolute, just a demonic man. And he's capable of all kinds of atrocities. And he's an absolute warmonger, just like Dick Cheney.
So you would say you would disagree that pro-Palestinian protesters should be placed in prison. Wow. That was a good one. A lot of P's there. Pro-Palestinian protesters should be placed in prison. You would disagree. Protest is fine.
Well, peaceful protest is absolutely fine. I would agree with that. So we've got, there's all kinds of campuses. And I don't like when they say, oh, they're pro-Hamas protesters. That's disingenuous.
That is their government. 75% of the people there support that government.
That's taking things right out of context. Brian, that's
providing important context.
From like 10 years ago, and most of the people that are in Gaza are not even voting age. So they did not vote for those people. All right. So do you agree with what is going on? Let's take another look at this one. They will send in the National Guard because a few hippies are protesting genocide in Gaza, but they won't send the National Guard to stop. What is it? You don't think there's a genocide happening in Gaza?
I said, is that Texas?
Yes.
Okay, I can't see on the screen.
They won't send the National Guard to stop millions of illegal aliens and drugs from flowing across the border.
That's insane.
And then you've got, Greg Abbott here, governor of Texas, saying these protesters belong in jail. He's cheering the arrest of the pro-Palestine protesters at UT Austin. It says anti-Semitism will not be tolerated. Yeah, anti-Semitism is bad, but is that actually what's happening here? Or are these just people calling for peace?
So that's essentially, if you protest Israel for any reason, you must be anti-Semitic. That would be something you would disagree with there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something that has to be anti-Semitic. I don't support the Bibi regime. I don't support his party. I think they're heavy-handed warmongers, and they've abused their power. And they need to face consequences for their actions. And that would go a long way to having, some kind of a peace in the Middle East. But you got to get rid of these tyrants. So that doesn't mean
I would just add there was peace until they were attacked. And then your response to that would say, well, I think Bibi initiated it. It's like, all right, well, I mean,
they might have let their guard down. They've lived in oppression for decades. So it's not like they're treated fairly. They live in peace and prosperity. No, people have called that an apartheid state where they're second, third class citizens.
And is that why people are saying that this is playing with fire and this could turn into another Occupy?
Yeah, absolutely. If they are pushing this, let's see if I can find. Here's back to Luke Rudowski. The right is playing with fire now and creating another Occupy Wall Street moment, with the potential for another summer of love right before the election. And
but I don't know that it's the right playing with fire. This is the left's premeditated plan. This is of course they were going to do a summer of love George Floyd riot fest. It's an election year. Of course they were going to do it. Of course they're going to plan it. The right reacting to what the left is doing, it does not equate to the right doing it or the right playing with fire or the right is now facing consequences for their actions. This is what the left does. They're brown shirts. They're angry. They're violent. This is what they do. So I don't know. Once again,
right? No, but I know. Are these protests? Are these campuses? Are they violent, Brian? Tell me. Are they violent? Are they actually like Jews fleeing for their lives? Are they scared to be on campus?
They're absolutely terrified to be on campus. Yeah.
Okay. Can we
There's
name?
No doubt about that.
Can we name one person? Can we name? Is there a student that we name?
Name you a person that's
brutally assaulted
on campus? I mean, I've seen 50 videos in the past 3 days. I don't have them committed to memory, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean, these are very aggressive, very angry, pro-Hamas, pro-Gaza,
not pro-Hamas. How many people do you think are pro-Hamas, Brian?
Blake. Yes,
Brian, stop with the pro-Hamas. That's an idiot talking point from the neoconservatives. And Brian,
I'm not an idiot, Blake. These are people who are supporting Hamas.
They're not supporting Hamas. How many of those people, how many of those kids on those campuses are actually supporting Hamas?
So that's forgive them for they not know what they
No,
do.
you're twisting this, Brian. Are they supporting Hamas? That's it.
I've said that 5 times. Yes, they are. That's the government of Palestine. Those are the people that initiated the violent act. Those are the people that were funded by Biden in Iran.
Palestinians getting blown up. Brian, I'm really sad. You know, you've gone against the grain. You've gone against the independent media, who has been very fair on this. And you have taken the neoconservative side and the Fox News side on Israel. And you're not getting AIPAC money, which is bizarre. Because it seems like most of the people that are pushing this stuff get a lot of money from AIPAC.
Yeah, I don't even watch Fox, so I don't know what you're even talking about. So
I'm curious why you take this hardline stance for Israel, for Netanyahu, I should say.
Blake, I open up my laptop each day and I see what's happening and I form opinions on it. I'm not for or against anyone. I don't give a shit about Israel, Israelis, Jews. I don't have a dog in the race. I don't have a horse in the race. I'm not Jewish. I've
mentioned this stuff before. Okay, so if people were criticizing,
I don't watch Fox. Like, I'm not on anybody's team.
And how do you take that side?
Like these idiot kids.
You've literally gone against everybody in the independent media.
All the cities.
Brian, can you name anybody in the independent media who has your same standpoint on this?
I'm not trying to replicate anybody in any type of media.
No, it's great. I celebrate independent thinking, but to say that these people are pro-Hamas or that they're calling for wink genocide just because
they want Israel removed. So do you. They don't belong there.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't. Now you're putting words in my mouth.
They stole that land. It's an apartheid state. They don't deserve to be there. There's no winking. They want them the fuck out of where they are in Israel.
Why can't they live together in peace?
I woke up in a world where they happen to have a state.
Why can't they live together in peace?
I woke up in a world where there happened to be an Israel, and I just don't understand why it needs to be overthrown today. You're taking the opposing side like they shouldn't be there.
Who said that?
It's Zionism. They don't deserve
Bibi should step down. It's like saying Bush and Cheney should step down. That doesn't mean I'm anti-American. So it's the same thing. Brian, I'm disappointed. But okay, well, I kind of knew this was going to happen. But, you know, this is a huge story, and it needs to be discussed. So,
and is that why TikTok has been banned? Because they've been critical of Israel having a state?
That's what a lot of people are saying. You should even see what even Anomaly is your buddy. He's saying
like, I got lots of buddies. I don't mimic a single one of them. You're my buddy. I don't mimic you. Like I'm
don't you notice that the people in the independent media are largely supportive of, you know, yes, not having genocide against innocent Palestinians? There's
a war going on. It's always framed with your talking points, which are the Biden deep state Democrat talking points. I just don't repeat the words genocide. They started a war and now they're getting warred upon. Maybe you shouldn't start a war and maybe we wouldn't be at war. Well, Bibi's at fault for the war. Well, fuck me then. I can't win an argument when it's like,
well, then why can't Bibi and Hamas both step down? Right. Okay. Well, here we go. This is the TikTok ban they're talking about. And a lot of people, including myself, would probably say this might have something to do with influence.
I'm going to show you Israel. 3 clips and prove to you that they're trying to ban TikTok because this app is pro-Palestinian. Our first clip comes from the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, a Zionist by the name of Jonathan Greenblatt. Let's see what he has to say.
The issue in the United States' support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And so we really have a TikTok problem.
This Zionist is saying that Israel...
So, yes, the head of the ADL is saying there's a TikTok problem.
Israel has a TikTok problem because TikTok is the place where people are being educated and turning pro-Palestinian. And that's true. The world has gotten to see the horrors that are happening in Gaza because of TikTok. But that's not all the CEO of the ADL said.
To talk about TikTok.
This is the same guy.
TikTok, if you will,
It is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids.
So it's Al Jazeera on steroids. There's your mask coming up.
Amplifying
So who's in
and
charge
intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism with no
the anti-Semitism,
What you just saw is that he took those ideas from the first clip,
and rather than correct the record and put out videos showing that this, people are wrong or what have you, we're just eliminate TikTok.
Went on the news to influence public opinion.
And guess who AIPAC runs? Like,
now I have one more clip for you.
In the United States, you are promoting to kids self-harm videos.
They are. That is true.
And anti-Israel propaganda.
Well, I mean,
why is there such a dramatic difference?
That's Senator Ted Cruz arguing for a TikTok ban, using the same exact talking points as Jonathan Greenblatt, saying that we should ban TikTok because it's anti-Israel, because it's anti-Zionist. The man in that video is Senator Ted Cruz, and when I looked at who funds him, guess what I found? Ted Cruz is almost exclusively funded by pro-Israel lobbies. Of course, we have AIPAC, the Republican Jewish Coalition, and NORPAC, which is another pro-Israel lobby. The reason this bill was passed so quickly is because of the enormous influence that the pro-Israel lobby has over our politicians. They've paid them tens of millions of dollars. Our politicians serve Israel's interests, and that's clear. Instead of upholding their country's values, my country's values of free speech, our First Amendment, instead of listening to the people on TikTok, half of America is on TikTok saying, we don't support genocide, stop sending weapons, we need a ceasefire. They want to shut it down. Instead of listening to the people they represent, they want to shut us down.
Well, he's clearly an anti-Semitic who wants Israel destroyed, Brian. And what else can we say? We've got more meddling in the U.S. affairs by apartheid Israel. So if Americans actually controlled their government, the FBI should investigate AIPAC instead, calling out these Israeli diplomats. I thought this was another interesting one from Max Kaiser, who I follow on a couple of different channels, saying is AIPAC behind U.S. attack on TikTok. And he also joked about how this was repressed even on X, because this vote only got 295 votes. I never saw this. I follow him on 2 accounts, and I never saw this. They won't even show this because overwhelmingly people are saying, yeah, this isn't about like stopping the communist Chinese. This has more to do with Israel. They're trying to prevent people from seeing the atrocities going on. And that's why you're seeing all these people on campus. They're freaked out about seeing this.
Yeah, but
there is also whether they attacked or not, whether they have a right to defend themselves or not, there is some atrocities happening in Israel, and people are outraged, and they should be able to speak out about it.
There's also plenty of interviews that we've shared. If you go on the X feed at American_media_, it's people getting interviewed. Why are you out here? And they're like, I'm not very educated on this. I don't know what, like, these people.
There are some, yeah,
don't know what the heck they're even part of the mob for.
Here they are. Yeah, I know. I've seen them. Here you go. This is the.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're. Do you know what NYU's doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free.
I wish I was more educated.
Well, Brian, they're calling for the genocide and the destruction of all the Jews.
Well, those people are clueless. Those are the useful idiots. Wrapped up.
There's picked out a few. Yeah, absolutely.
There's all sorts of people here. Katie Cat says it's not about.
No, but you think that they're supporting Hamas and that they are calling for the literal genocide of Jews.
100% certain, without a doubt in my body, that there are elements in this faction that want absolutely exactly that. Are you claiming there aren't these people that want that state removed? Of course there are. How could you? Like, that's not even an argument you could make, Blake. You know that there are people in the movement that want them wiped off of the map. Is it true or false?
I would say a lot of that is in the Middle East. Yeah. There's going to be like Iran. Yeah. People in Palestine, Hamas. Some of these other people in the surrounding areas of the Middle East. I don't think the average college student knows anything about, is actually calling for that. No, I don't.
Blake, you are sorely mistaken. I don't know how else to say that.
Well,
Absolutely.
Well, let's leave it on that note, Brian. You can say whatever you want. You have the floor because I have to go. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you. Blake, follow him on X at TV's Blake Wally and thenextlevelnews.com. And I'll be fair. I'll read Katie Cat saying that Brian is so ignorant and I'm aggressively ignorant, and that's the worst kind. Thank you so much, Katie Cat. Appreciate you. And she says it's not about criticizing Israel as a state. It's not a war. Okay, yes, it is about criticizing Israel's right to exist as a state, because that's literally what Zionism is. You either have a state or you don't. And it's not a war. Yes, it is a war. I would disagree on those 2 points, but I appreciate the comment. Jocelyn says that they are trying to ban TikTok because the algorithms are brainwashing our children. Yes, they have buttons that they press. They have a little thing where they can heat up a story and make it trend and make it worldwide. They can make it the hottest thing that everyone gets their rage bait about. I mean, we saw that kind of soft rolled out during the George Floyd Summer of Love, and we're seeing it again. I'm mixed on TikTok because I don't need Chinese propaganda getting into the hands of impressionable youth. I mean, look, with Gaza, like, we want things to be peaceful, and shit was peaceful until they got attacked. Blake always spins that around into, no, it's Israel's fault that Israel got attacked. See, it's not paradise in Palestine. See, it's Israel's fault. It's like, well, what about Egypt? They share other borders. Why is everything Israel's fault? And by the way, they could be the reason. They could be the fault. They could be behind every bad thing happening. I just, in this case, show me. I'm not seeing it. Abraham Accords, there was peace. Biden funds Iran. Iran gives money to Hezbollah. They give money to Hamas. And then look what happens. They attack a fucking concert venue. If there's one place you're supposed to be safe in this world, it's enjoying yourself at a concert venue. There's nothing more chicken shit than attacking people at a concert venue. So yeah, it rubs me the wrong way. And yes, there is a war there. That's exactly what they started. And now they're yelling at the teacher, help, help, I'm getting hit. Well, why are you getting hit, Billy? Oh, I didn't do anything. Susie, what happened? Well, he went over and just blasted him in the face, and this is retribution. This is payback. This is self-defense. This is a reaction to what he started. Help, help, help. Well, maybe you shouldn't have started a fight. I don't know. Whatever. Katie Cat is saying that Blake should play some Miko Peled videos, an Israeli from Jerusalem. He can explain perfectly. Yes, Blake does often find videos of people who say they're Jewish and they don't think that Israel should be a state. Would I vote to make Israel a state out of parts of what was there 70 years ago? We're not on that timeline. We didn't exist during that time. We woke up and Israel was a state. So it's like, from the river to the sea, cleanse all the scum into the water, wipe it all off. All right. That's what they're saying. And Blake's like, they're not saying that. College kids don't believe that. Yes, they do. On one hand, college kids don't know what the hell they're even protesting for. And on the other hand, they're probably believing all sorts of wacky shit that their radical Marxist professors are cramming down their throats. Which is why you never want to give college away for free, because they're radical indoctrination camps. So yeah. Jocelyn says, we're all delusional at this point because Soros is paying for both sides. Well, yeah, Soros is paying for both sides, but what about our side? What about the United States? And once again, I don't claim Biden. Every time I point out that roughly 75% of the people in Palestine support Hamas, that is their government, he's like, oh, they're too young. They don't have an opinion yet. Damn right they have an opinion. They were in those same indoctrination camps in their schools to go after the little devil and the big devil. It's like was pointed out in a previous post. This is a multi-thousand-year blood feud. I don't give a shit. I just want you guys to live in peace. You were, until those assholes once again started a war. I hate this topic. Katie Cat says, Gilad Atzman, another Israeli, says Israel is a psychopathic, apartheid, racist occupation. Okay, hold on. I gotta refresh for that. That is some word soup right there, Katie Cap. That is some word soup. Talking point, MSNBC, word soup. Gilad Atzmon, another Israeli, says Israel is a psychopathic, apartheid, racist occupation murdering Palestinians since Balfour. Prior, they lived in peace. Okay, I mean, Jan Pape, another Israel author, writes about Israel as a genocide state. Jocelyn adds, the protests have gotten out of hand. They are threatening Jewish students and inconveniencing people. I tried to explain that to Blake, but he's like, oh, AIPAC, Fox News. I'm like, I don't take their money. I don't watch it. What do you? Yeah, well, your friend Anomaly said. It's like, yeah, I like AJ. He's cool. I don't parrot anybody that I listen to. I'm not trying to be the next Luke Radowski or Sean Hannity. I'm Brian Engelman. I'm looking at this and making an opinion based on what I'm seeing. And I hate that those idiots started a war. And look at how bad the repercussions are. Yeah, people are being threatened and people are being inconvenienced. Jocelyn says they want to change Israel to Wasreal. Ah. Oh, that's good. I know John B. Wells. I need to invite John on. I don't know how much I want to dance into this topic because he's even more strident than Blake is. But then again, John and I always seemed to agree. He's the host of Caravan to Midnight. He was on Coast to Coast AM. But yeah, he calls him the state of isn't real. He calls it isn't real. Katie Cat. Okay, I'm taking the time to read your comments, even the ones that are disparaging me unfairly, I think. But I'm putting them on the record. We're talking about it. But when you type something like this, I'm juggling all sorts of comments. I'm trying to maintain the sentence that I'm speaking. I'm trying to kind of coordinate the overall flow of the show. And here's what I get caught up on. Brian, totally false, completely wrong. You are emotionally influenced by propagandists. What am I totally false about? What am I totally wrong about? Just if you could round out the thought, I could respond a little bit more eloquently. God, that is good. They want to change Israel to Wasreal. I got to remember that. Thomas, how are you, sir? All countries in the Middle East wish to remove the Jewish state. I mean, that's exactly what our history books told us about Hitler in the 30s, right? They wanted to remove the Israeli state. I mean, we're on a loop here. And then you hear the common retorts. You'll hear, oh, book burning. Well, what types of books were they burning? Now, was it the same type of stuff that's being banned from schools because it's inappropriate today? That's the claim. Oh, they're banning books. Is it explicit stuff? Is it gender confusion stuff? Is it going after kids stuff? That's the claim. I mean, that's getting dangerously close from the people that claim that H guy was a good guy. That's what those people are saying. So you get into really strange territory when you start saying that. Then you also say, oh, well, Israelis, they've been displaced for their entire history. They've been kicked out of every country they've ever been in. Then the response comes, well, what were they doing in every country to warrant getting kicked out of every country? They had it coming, is what they tend to kind of say out of the side of their mouth. They don't want to full-throatedly say what they're hinting at or what they're saying, but they're like, H was right. If you're going to say that, say that. I wasn't alive in the 30s, 40s. I read from the same history books you do. There's no way that Auschwitz was what Auschwitz was. You go down this rabbit hole and it gets gross. It gets gross real quick. And it just lives in that festering, strange spot. So all countries in the Middle East wish to remove the Jewish state. I feel like we've heard that before. Jocelyn signing off. This has been fun. Gotta go. Thanks a lot. A lot to think about. Love you. Happy birthday, Jocelyn. I appreciate you so much. And yes, every time Blake and I jokingly refer to it as 2 minutes hate. when he gets to go on his anti-Zionist. And it's like, Zionist. Why is the word Zionist a bad word? It's like, well, that means the group of people that think Israel should continue being a state. But it's used as like a 4-letter slur. And it's like, I mean, they want anybody living where they're living would like to keep their state. I don't know. It's anyway. But all of your comments are important. We're trying to suss this out together. I am calling for peace. And I've had this thought and I'm trying to make sense of it right now. My understanding is that Putin has repeatedly called for peace to stop what's happening in Ukraine. And repeatedly, the Biden puppeteers are saying, no, 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 more money, more money, more money, more death, 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 death. And I don't understand it. None of this was happening under Trump. Would Putin have invaded to push the UN and was it NATO and different batteries of weaponry close to their border on Ukraine? Would this have happened if President Trump was in office? I don't know. I believe President Trump claims that it wouldn't have happened. I'm not certain of that, but maybe. I just know the direction we're headed now is all sorts of wrong. And it calls into question the Nuremberg trials broke down what's allowable in war and what's not allowable in war. It's like, it's a 3-letter word. You know how bad the 4-letter words are. The 3-letter words are even worse. The fewer the letters, the worse the word, it seems. War is hell. And that's kind of why you want to avoid conflict when possible. And all this stuff got broken when Biden's handlers seized power of the United States. It's like everything went wonky. We haven't even gotten into China yet. Hong Kong, what's sitting over there? Taiwan. There's more conflict bubbling up under the surface. And you just hate to see it. It all feels so unnecessary. So some people say, oh, you got to stop attacking the people that attacked you. And it's like, well, and the other side go, I'm never going to stop until all those people are gone. Those people will not stop attacking us, and it's self-defense. I mean, who's right? The side that doesn't want to get killed or the side that doesn't want to get killed? I mean, how easily we're played for fools, right? Thomas says that Putin is not calling for peace. Okay, because I've read a few reports that he's tried to push peace negotiations to stop this. He's calling for a pause so that he can rebuild his munitions and then attack again. I don't think that's it. I think there's regions, Crimea, in the eastern part of Ukraine, there's a couple of spots, Donbass region, that those people voted to get out of the absolutely corrupt Ukraine and join Russia. And that's the territory that's been taken, and they just want to stop. It's over. This is Russian control now. Like, we're done. Just the theory that it's always, no. Howard Dean, remember when Howard Dean was running for the presidency? Then we're going to go to Michigan, and then we're going to Iowa, and Texas, and then the White House. Rah! I hate doing that. It always tears up my throat. I got to find a better way. The thought is that, Putin, he's going to go into Belarus, and I'm not in front of my map now. He's going to go to Belarus. He's going to go to Greece. He's going to go to Italy, and he's going to go to the world. Bah! He's going to keep expanding. It's like, well, he was telling you for how long to stop putting weaponry and stop poking them with NATO. NATO only exists to mess with Russia at this point. That's what a lot of people are saying. There's probably more nuance to it, but I mean, what act of aggression has Russia shown us other than get off of my border here? And if the U.S. pushed back into Mexico to stop what's happening at our southern border, that would make sense. What happened in the Bay of Pigs when all those weapons systems from Russia were being parked off the coast of Florida? I mean, JFK was right on the verge there. But he had to push that weaponry off of his border. When you have hostile forces arming themselves, aiming at you, that's a threat. That's exactly what the allegation was in Arizona, that rancher, he had somebody on his property break into the country, break into his property, trespass. I believe he claimed that he aimed at him, maybe that he shot at him before he shot back in self-defense. I mean, call me a Zionist shill for saying people that get attacked have a right to defend themselves against the attacker. That's your Gaza story. And then you could say with Ukraine, well, Ukraine didn't attack Russia. It's like, man, once again, back to that bully that grabs the arm of the little kid and starts using his own little arm to hit him in his own little head. It's the bully once again getting up in your face going, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Like, yeah, at some point, like, you're in my physical space. Like, I got a radius of comfort and you've crossed it. I do want that shit to stop over in Russia. Seems like if the U.S. hadn't provoked that and hadn't funded that, this wouldn't even be a thing. So I don't understand it. I don't know. Putin is not calling for peace. He's calling for a pause so he can rebuild his munitions and then attack again. I think he has plenty of munitions. I hate seeing any Ukrainian man getting kidnapped and conscripted and being tossed into a wood chipper. It's gross. I don't like seeing that. So I don't know. I don't know if I would agree there, Thomas, but I appreciate your input there. Thomas continues, when Russian forces return to their side of the run Ukraine border, then talks of peace may begin. Well, no, they're not giving back those regions that have voted to leave Ukraine. Ukraine is a corrupt, failed state. It's a complete mafia takeover. Victoria Nuland, Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden, they all authored the overthrow of Ukraine. They're money laundering how many tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars running through Ukraine at this point? Those people said, we're out. This is not us. Those people took votes, wanted to go to Russia. This corrupt government doesn't represent me, is what they were saying. I mean, do those people have a right to self-determination? Or are they captives of the Zelensky regime that banned independent media, that banned media, that banned voting and banned elections? There's nothing democratic about the overthrow of Ukraine. So to look at Ukraine and be like, yeah, that's my team, I'm going to wave a flag. Like, I'm sorry, I don't get how that aligns with us. You know, things are so upside down at this point. You see people burning flags or kneeling for flags, and it's like seeing what the deep state is doing, seeing what the chaos they're causing everywhere, the Biden administration. Like, there's nothing about that flag that speaks to me. That's not my country. That's not, and that gets back to Blake's point. In Palestine, those kids are like, that's not my government. Now, I don't think they are. I haven't seen, who's the opposing party? Who is the opposition that's calling for peace to overthrow Hamas and take control of that country? The fact that we can't say their name, hashtag say her name. The fact that we don't even know who the opposition that hates terrorism and hates Hamas. Oh, but none of those kids are saying that. None of those kids believe that. It's like bullshit. Of course they do. Where's the opposition? We know where the opposition to Biden is. It's everywhere. Everywhere that's not the deep state in Washington, D.C. Look at the red and blue map of this country. It's red. It's a red country. And you got some blue states and you got some dark blue states. That's it. A couple of speckled, you know what I'm saying? Specks of color. Specks of blue, but it's a red country. Where is the anti-Hamas government of Palestine that's negotiating a peace deal? Where the hell are the hostages? Why aren't the hostages front page news every single day? True or false? There are American hostages being held by Hamas. Why is that not front page news every day? Flashing on the screen. It's been 186 days since Americans held hostage. Biden does nothing. Biden does nothing. It's because the media will do this and flash at you as much as they want if you're going along with their plan. 51 former intelligence officials from the CIA are saying that the Hunter Biden laptop bears all the classic landmarks and hallmarks of Russian misinformation and disinformation. All a lie. All election interference to rig the 2020 election against President Trump. 51 intelligence officials lied. Not accidentally. They didn't make a mistake. They didn't read the data wrong. They fucking flat out lied to get Biden elected so that we could get into a war, so that we could get into another war, so we could leave our damn border open. It's maddening. It's mind-boggling. It's ludicrous. Thomas continues here. Poland will not allow Russia to capture it again. Yeah, I just don't seem to have any indication that that's the plan. I haven't watched a translated clip of Putin saying that that's the plan. What does Putin want with Poland? I just that's such a far step. Now, okay, let's play devil's advocate time to the people that said I'm not only wrong, I'm aggressively wrong, and that's the worst kind. Maybe you're going to see that Ukraine was all about a power grab for oil and energy supplies, gas, oil. Well, I mean, precious minerals, precious metals at this point, who knows? In Ukraine and Burisma. And it was all part of a plan to keep Russia from taking all of that so that the U.S. could steal it. They could team up with Ukraine and then pay off our $36 trillion of debt. Ta-da! Number one, that wouldn't make us the good guys. I mean, wouldn't that make us the bad guys? Isn't this what we do all over the place, which is why people hate us? Now, in Israel, maybe they're going to wipe out all of the Gaza Strip. And it seems like that's the plan. They've been hit too many times and they've had enough. You know what this is? This is the little Christmas Story. It's Christmas Story. It's Ralphie getting hit with the snowball. What? You gonna cry? Cry for me. Cry. And Ralphie bubbles up with rage. And he goes bonkers in what we've now dubbed to be the Scott Farkas affair. Fun fact, there's a bar that my band used to play, my band Twist of Nothing. We used to play at a bar called Easy Street Cafe in Bowling Green. And there is a sticker on the back landing of the upstairs fire escape that we'd use to load in and load out equipment. And there was a band that seems to be called the Scott Farkas Affair. I saw that and laughed, so I'm sharing the story with you now. Is Israel going to wipe that whole place off, push everybody into Egypt? There you go. Iran was the one who was funded by Biden. Iran was the one that funded Hamas to launch these attacks. So will Iran have to give up an equivalent patch of land so that the Palestinians can be relocated and that land will be claimed as reparations? I mean, this is a war. Then in the aftermath, will the Israeli government and Netanyahu, will they then take over, the Suez Canal right there? Hope I'm not confusing canals. Or there's another canal that can be built that could be 2 or 3 times as wide. And that all of this, they allowed themselves to get attacked so that they could respond heavy-handed and wipe the whole place out in a genocide so that they could just build a better port and make more money. I don't know. I mean, it's not lost on me that however many number of Saudis attacked the United States allegedly on 9/11 in 2001. And so we went and bombed, checks notes, Iraq, Afghanistan. What? But we left Saudi Arabia alone. I'm not completely daft. I do understand three-dimensional chess. I'm not just speaking from a checker's perspective. I'm just saying, Chris Rock, Chris Rock had that thing about O.J. Simpson, O.J. who just passed away. He's like, now I'm not saying it's okay, but I understand. I'm not saying what's happening is okay. It's a war, and war is hell, so you should probably try to avoid war. But I understand wanting to wipe the people out that just blew up my music venue, the ones that keep fighting me every couple of years and will not stop. Yeah, eventually, you've had enough. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying I understand. I got no dog in the fight. I got a dog in the race or horse in the race. I don't care. Thomas says the zone of personal space varies by culture. I mean, yeah. But I think fine. I mean, I understand if you're in India and you have people everywhere. But in self-defense, they say if you're 10 feet away, you can gain 10 feet in a second and a half or something. Like a weapon can be deployed against you. So if somebody's ever within arm reach of you, gets in your face, like you're way too close. There's obviously the stand your ground, and then there's the castle doctrine. There's, I don't know, there's some areas of the law in some backward states that say you need to retreat. If an aggressive force has gotten to this point, you have a right to get out of that threat. That's not a warning. That is an imminent threat of danger. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. And in a way, isn't this very eerily reminiscent of what's happening in Ukraine, Russia, where NATO, where the weapons, the forces are being moved closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to your border, trying to make Ukraine a NATO state. And NATO is, kind of just anti-Russia. So how many anti-US groups would you want on the border of the US? When you get that close, you have to defend yourself. Like you've crossed into the personal space zone there. But yeah, I mean, I take your point. It's clever. It's true. What's the Seinfeld episode? The Close Talker. Hi, Jerry. How's it going? The Close Talker. Thomas continues, Poland is part paranoia, i.e. the path of previous Russian invaders, and the desire to restore the Soviet Union. Okay, well, all right. Well, look, there's theories, there's wild conspiracy theories, there's paranoia, and then there's reality. So if we reached a point where Putin pounces on Poland, predictably, Putin pounces on Poland. Perhaps predictably, Putin pounces on Poland. Anyway, I'm not going to do any more of that. It's kind of fun. I like the alliteration game. I would have a very different opinion of Ukraine-Russia conflict, Putin, if they were invading Poland. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right to call that paranoia. So, who was that from CNN? That lady that was trying to get Trump tongue. By the way, the irony is not escaping me. The fact that I'm trying to talk about Trump getting tongue-tied, and I'm the one that got tongue-tied talking about tongue-tying. However, she was trying to. So wait a minute. Let me just. Do you not want Russia to win, or do you not want Ukraine to win this war? And he's like, I just want to. No. Do you want Ukraine to win this war? He goes, I want people to stop dying. I want people to stop dying. And that does sum up my political philosophy. I don't like seeing acts of aggression. I don't like seeing warfare. There's that meme. I don't have it in front of me. I feel like it's phrased. Hang on, let me look it up. Fight like you're the third monkey. There we are. If you're going to fight, Fight like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark. And brother, it's starting to rain. And so I think part of the beginning of that is that avoid conflict when you can. But if you must fight like you're the third monkey, and brother, it's starting to rain. Oh, I can't believe they're fighting back in such a heavy-handed way. It's war. There's 3 people, only 2 may pass. Anything goes. There is nothing off limits. That is why war is so shitty. And why it is so preferable and desirable that we avoid it. But if a war occurs, you go for it. You're not going to sit there and try, I'm sorry, I believe that was a low blow person who broke into my home at 3 a.m. and is trying to harm me and my family. You grab and you twist, you poke, you gouge, you avoid conflict whenever you can. But if you find yourself in a conflict, annihilation. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying I understand. All by Nature says, my faith in humanity is 0. Sigh. Ali by Nature, is that because of Blake? Is that because of me? Is that because of Thomas's comments? Is that just because of the general tenor of the topics of the day? Is that just in general? Is it unrelated to the show? If you could round out that comment, that's kind of what I was mentioning to Katie Cat. If you could round out the comment, I can respond a little bit more appropriately. I don't quite get the context of what triggered your faith in humanity going to 0. And the sigh. And Thomas continues, the duty to retreat is not the correct rule? Hell no. My country, my castle. An act of aggression is getting within your personal space. And part of that, I think that was we remember one case, it was Trayvon Martin. Horribly misreported, where George Zimmerman was attacked. Oh, he was following a kid. You're allowed to follow someone. You're not allowed to jump out of the bushes, attack them, ground and pound them, get in an MMA position, and start cracking their skull on the concrete. You can't do that, but that's what happened. You don't have to retreat, especially with castle doctrine, and stand your ground. No. You must not initiate violence on another. Hummus attacked their neighbor, and they are getting it right now. I feel for anybody who is getting wrapped up in this, who has done nothing aggressive, nothing violent, and they are just victims of their shitty government and their terrible circumstances and situation. I hate it. My heart goes out to them. But no, there's not a duty to retreat. There's a duty to not attack somebody. And when you attack, you forfeit. Now, I know at some point, once you've stood your ground and once you've protected your castle doctrine, once you've defended your family, your life, your fortune, your home, your car, whatever it is, there is a point where you can't keep chasing after somebody, and I recommend that everybody goes through some self-defense grappling courses, and then people go to, USCCA or NRA, get trained and get familiarized with what the law actually states, because state to state, it's very different. But I was just forwarded a site that says I can get concealed carry permit in 23 states if I fill out some form. I'm like, I'm back and forth between 2 states that aren't crazy. Like, what? I don't need that. I'm in America. We got a Second Amendment. That's my right. It's like some states aren't constitutional carry, but they should be. This is something that the Supreme Court really needs to chime in on. Just like how an Arizona ballot should not be able to let an illegal alien invader cast a vote in a national election, that voids the whole national election, or it voids the Arizona ballot. That's a tainted pool. You cannot count that. You just can't. So I don't know. In some ways, the circumstances are similar. In other ways, they're not. But duty to retreat? No, I mean, you've got an obligation to not start none if you don't want none. I mean, that's how I've heard it. Don't want none, don't start none. Thomas says the resistance by Ukraine has ended any plans for capturing the countries set free when the SU dissolved. Ukraine resisted, and so now the Soviet Union dissolving, this has ended plans for capturing the countries set free. Let's find out. How about we call a ceasefire immediately, return that $70 billion, $35 billion, however much, bring it here, put $5 billion on our southern border, put another $30 billion at the northern border. There, now we're taking care of our own damn country. I can only care so much about everybody else when our own oxygen mask is not on us. The airplane's going down, you got to put that oxygen mask on yourself, or else you can't help your neighbors. And $36 trillion in debt, $1 trillion being added in interest every couple months. It's a debt spiral. It's a death spiral. So Ukraine, I mean, was that the plan? Was Putin going to try to reunite all those countries and invade everyone? I mean, that's a fancy theory. I don't know if it's true. I don't think it is. And I also get the angle that the U.S. is sending over spent weaponry, old and outdated. Like they're kind of just blowing off the old fireworks with the short fuses, and we're kind of reproducing some fresh ones. The problem is we're not. There were 2 stockpiles. I forget which type of weaponry were incinerated last week, within the past week or so. The U.S. hasn't restocked in the strategic oil reserves. We're leaving ourselves intentionally weak, and I wonder why. The United States is not fully stocked up on beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. The United States has been invaded by 15 million people from God knows where with God knows what intentions. None of this is good. And I think that's what Ali by general is saying here, or Ali by nature. In general is what he was referring to, his faith in humanity being zero. I think the powers that be are doing a shitty job of avoiding conflict, or they're doing an excellent job at creating conflict. And look, I get it. Maybe Bibi Netanyahu is at the center of the cabal, the Mossad, the deep state, the CIA, the just all of the globalist apparatus, the Gulf of Tonkin. What's the other one? Was it Lusitania getting sunk? Or was that the Gulf of Tonkin? No, that was Vietnam. The Titanic going down, 9/11, Pearl Harbor getting bombed. Did we know about these things? Did we instigate or initiate or plan them ourselves so that the reaction could be overwhelming and swift, like the third monkey trying to get up on that ramp? Yes, I look, I get that. But spare me trying to side with Hamas supporters. They're the ones that started this shit. Well, it's not like it was paradise there. Now what are we talking about? Now it's Israel's fault because the leaders of Hamas are shitty leaders and they have a shitty country. And oh no, some call it apartheid state. I don't talk to Egypt about getting out that way. Everything is Israel's fault all the time. Maybe all of it is. I mean, how are we supposed to know? But does an 18-year-old fully understand any of this? I get it. When Blake is saying it's not like they know what they're saying, and like we watch a video, they don't even know what they're out there protesting for. Some of them don't. The useful idiots, they do not. But that's a percentage. Oh, there is much more than a 1% chance they want Israel wiped off the face of the map. Wipe them off like the mistake they are. is what more than 1% of the Hamas Palestine supporters, protesters, the BLM in a new fancy headgear, same group of professional protesters, the Antifa, Summer of Love. It's just toss a New Jersey on them. Not the state of New Jersey and Chris Christie. Toss another sports jersey on. Aha, now we're funded by Soros, funded by the DNC. Summer of Love. Here we go. Yeah, are the powers that be doing a shitty job of avoiding conflict or a fantastic job of creating it? And I've asked this question. I mean, the New American Media has been doing the Agree to Disagree show for 14 years, going back into Obama, and we would often ask, like, is Obama completely inept, or is he playing for the other team? Is he intentionally trying to destroy this country? Barack Obama, aka Renegade. That's 2000. Well, this one they're kind of pumping it up with a book. Hang on. Oh, Renegade. Let me do chose the name Renegade Obama. Fine, choose the name Renegade. President Barack Obama opted for this moniker after being presented with a list of names beginning with the letter R. As custom dictates, the rest of his family's code names will be alliterative. Michelle is Renaissance. Malia is Radiance. Sasha is Rosebud, respectively. So, Renegade means a deserter, an individual who rejects lawful or conventional behavior. A deserter. A person who abandons the religious, political, or philosophical beliefs that he or she used to have and accepts opposing or different beliefs. He has shown himself to be a renegade without respect for the rule of law. Synonyms are deserter, rebel, betrayer. That's Obama. There were times I thought Obama was just way out of his depth, way in over his head. No. That was early me. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and I think he's still pulling the strings with his other puppeteers right now. 100%. Thomas says the people act in three ways. 1, moving against others. 2, moving toward others. 3, withdrawing from others. All right, so what's moving against others and withdrawing from others? Isn't against, I guess, okay, so moving against is an attack, but if it's an attack, isn't that toward? Against or toward? Thomas is LOLing on the floor. You have not yet learned how America's system of money numbers works. The number you call USA debt is in the red ink balance, and you need to focus on the black ink balance. Well, I referenced this in the last show as well. Men in Black, the president's taken to the underground secret government facility, opens up the doors, and there's a hovering craft, and it's anchored down. He looks around. This room, it's just unlike anything you've ever seen. And he says, my God, I've been president for all these years, and I do the budgets. I've never seen line items to fund stuff like this in the budget. Where are you getting the money from? And the response is, well, you don't really think we pay $20,000 for a gold toilet seat, do you? I remember around that time, there was something in the news about, oh my gosh, they paid $10,000 for a hammer, $20,000 for a toilet seat. It's like, it's just money laundering. It's black budget. World War III is inevitable. We're fighting extraterrestrial beings. So the 15 million military-aged men who are going to be conscripted into the U.S. fighting services are necessary for the protection of our country and thus the fate of humanity in general. Maybe that's what's going on. I'm not saying it is, but maybe it is. And maybe they can't say that. The frustration is coming from all of the lies and all of the things that make no sense. And then we're just supposed to be expected to just go along with it. Yeah, there's a Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode where Kang and Kodos, the two aliens, come down, and it's Bill Clinton and I'm Bob Dole. And they're trying to figure out the politics, and people are booing and they're cheering. It's like, well, hold on, let me fine tune this. And they're like, abortions for all. And you hear, boo! He's like, okay. Abortions for none. Boo! He goes, all right. Abortions for some, and miniature United States flags for everyone. Yay! It's the human condition is so fickle and petty and wonky and ticky-tack sometimes. No, I get the black budget stuff. I understand how wonky this stuff is. I definitely do. I just miss the feeling of what it was when you at least felt like somebody with some sanity was behind the steering wheel. Oh my gosh, you said Trump has sanity? Yeah, he's a stand-up comedian. He runs his mouth. He's a New York construction guy. He talks shit. A little too much shit sometimes. But I never once doubted that he believed in this country, that he protected this country, that he liked this country, that he wanted to run this country like his company, that he wanted this country to win. He wanted the people who lived here to succeed. And all we have from the other side, from the deep state, are lies and frame job attempts. Oh, no, we need to kidnap and kill Trump, is what the deep state says. Oh, really? Well, I don't need to know much more, but I know I'm against that. So, anyway. Thank you for all your comments. I really do appreciate it. This has been the Agree to Disagree show for Thursday, April 25, 2024. Special thanks to Blake Wally. Follow him at TV's Blake Wally and thenextlevelnews.com. Yeah, he takes a fairly consistent stance against Israel, but then he'll say, I'm not against Israel. Okay, we're playing this word game. Tap dance, tiptoe around here. I'm against Zionists. I go, why is that a four-letter word? Because they believe in supremacy. I say, well, okay, everybody, not to put words in Blake's mouth, go back and check the previous episodes if it's not specifically something we've referenced here. I'm not trying to misrepresent him in any way. I respect his differing opinion. This is called the Agree to Disagree show. We should be allowed to have different opinions and different perspectives, talk about them and not hate each other at the end of it. That's what we believe in. That's what this country's supposed to fucking be about. And yes, sometimes I drop an occasional cuss word in there because that's what freedom of speech is. If you don't stretch the muscle, it will atrophy. But he's fairly consistent against Zionism. Well, they're supremacists. I believe every religion believes they are the chosen religion and they're going to go to heaven and nobody else is. Most of the major religions believe they are the chosen ones. Yeah, but Israel's different. They really believe that they're chosen. Isn't that what religion is? Like, so what? You're not attacking Islam like that. You're not attacking Christianity like that, but always the Jews. By the way, didn't the Jews string up my Christ? It's not like I'm rooting for them. I'm not waving their pennant. I'm not having a lapel pin. Not collecting AIPAC money or watching Fox News. I'm just trying to unpack this shit. So we discuss all types of issues and we're allowed to have robust differing opinions, and that's appreciated. Your comments are very well appreciated. And if you like what the New American Media is doing and has been doing for 13, 14 years, I encourage you to do a few things. Number one, if you like us and you would want to buy us a cup of coffee or more, you can go on patreon.com/the New American Media. You can sign up to donate $5 a month, $15 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month. Maybe you have more money than time. But we would love to reinvest in equipment, pay for some of the travel expenditures, the licensing, and just all the general business expenditures that go into having a website and running this. If you like us, go to patreon.com/the New American Media. Our homepage is thenewamericanmedia.com. Rebuilding that, posting new content in there. If everything goes dark, go to thenewamericanmedia.com because that's the only place we truly control. and run, at least for the time being. We're on Truth Social, and we need more followers there. So if you're on Truth, please take a quick second, go to thenewamericanmedia.com and follow us on Truth Social. We post our shows there as well. On Spotify, sign up for our podcast. I think you can get it on iTunes. I'm not sure how it works really because I'm not a podcast guy. But we are on Spotify at least. You can subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show and the Unhappy Hour Sports show. That is a secondary show that we do there. And we do intend to have some fresh content rolling through shortly on that sports show, the Unhappy Hour. Rumble is the big backup to YouTube. So please find us on Rumble. We're the New American Media. And the backup to Rumble is Odyssey, Odyssee. It makes a carbon copy backup of everything we've done. Should YouTube remove our videos, they've taken down an interview with Lou Diamond Phillips. They took down our interview with Dylan McDermott. They've shadow banned our interview with John McAfee. They've shadow banned our interview with Larry Elder. They just took down one of our Agree to Disagree episodes from about 6 months ago. They took down my Tool Anima video. I did a lyric video thing for Tool Anima. So find us in the other spots. Of course, do the quick thing. Go to YouTube. Go to the New American Media, youtube.com/@thenewamericanmedia. And hit subscribe and click the notification bell. And look for our maybe our highest rated shows, if you will. Watch some of our previous content if you can. Because the comments, the engagement, the plays, that all boosts the algorithm and that all helps us get our message out there. So please do that on YouTube as well as Rumble and Odyssey. Also Telegram, we're TNAM and TNAM Chat. On Signal, we're TNAM and TNAM Official, I believe. X, we're at American_media_. On Facebook, we have a group doing parentheses, TNAM''S, the Agree to Disagree show. Now, that group is really hard to find. It's really hard to find. I was with somebody recently. We typed it in together and Facebook refused to show it to you. So if you can find our private group for the TNAMs, the Agree to Disagree show, TNAM being the New American Media, of course. If you can find us, try to enter our private group. And when it says, how did you find our private group? Say, Brian invited me. Also, we have a page for the New American Media. Please find us there. Also, you can get the page, the New American Media. Also, Instagram, we are the New American Media on that front. So make sure you're linked up with us in that regard. I don't know. I think that's about it for now on all of the places to follow us, but we really do appreciate you linking up with alternative voices. You know, you might not like everything we have to say. That's cool. That's fine. You know, that's understandable. But we fully anticipate more shenanigans and more censorship. So if you can just get with TNAM, with the New American Media, in several different spots while we still can, it'll help out a lot. So when Facebook and Meta do silence us, we're just going to be firing on all cylinders on Telegram. We'll be on Rumble. We'll be on Truth. We'll be on X. Meta takes us out. That's fine. We'll be on another platform. Like, we're going to keep going. We'll be on Spotify. Because I really dislike being lied to like I'm an imbecile. I really dislike being censored like I'm a child. And I feel like some basic common sense policies could just make this planet a much better place. And the people that are getting in the way of this just to collect a few bucks, and they don't care how much damage they cause, how much sorrow they leave in their wake. You know, we pledge eternal hostility. For I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. That appears to be Thomas Jefferson. For I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. So if you pledge eternal hostility against lies and the lying liars who lie about them, thank you so much for finding the New American Media. And we hope to communicate with you moving forward for a long time. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Love you. We'll be back again on Tuesday, if not sooner. I'm going to try to start doing some more shows. So if you get the notification bell, hey, maybe we'll pop up again. Maybe I'll have some guests. Maybe I'll have Blake. Maybe I'll have somebody else. Maybe I'll be solo. I don't know. But keep your eyes peeled for the New American Media, because the old American media has failed.